Many sellers have been very successful selling private label products on Amazon, but now the market has reached saturation point. So, can small businesses still be successful on Amazon? In this video, I speak to multi-million-dollar seller Will Churn about the new successful approach to selling on Amazon. Today on E-Commerce Heroes, I'll be talking to Will Churn about the best new approach for selling on Amazon. Will is a multi-million-dollar Amazon seller, having sold $6 million worth of products just 1 year after graduating university. He is also the co-founder of Goat Consulting. So Will, many sellers, obviously including yourself, have been very successful with private label products on Amazon. So why is it no longer the best business model? Is it because it's less successful?
It appears that private labeling is becoming a little bit less successful. I don't know if that's exactly the words I would choose. I think it's becoming more competitive. You have to be more creative nowadays, and those things really pay their dividends. Being able to find a niche where you can really connect with that kind of core audience, and you can collect that core audience's emails and kind of information and resell products to them over and over again. That seems kind of the way people are going more with private label. Back in the day when I started back 2013, you could just kind of slap a brand on anything, any sort of widget, and make some sort of money on Amazon because it was fairly easy to rank, a lot less competitive. Now people need to be a lot more creative in the different competitive spaces, or be a lot more creative with just their product choice by choosing something that there might not be a market for yet on Amazon, but they're going to create a market.
Okay, and so tell us about this new approach of approaching niche brands that aren't selling on Amazon and kind of offering to sell their products on there. What's the sort of idea behind that?
So the idea behind that is basically Amazon sells more products that are from like legitimate brands than they do from private labelers. And so kind of just go where the money is. And as you probably have seen before, and many of the sellers have seen before, you'll sometimes see you're competing against someone who has maybe 1,000 reviews, but they only have like 3 of their 5 bullet points filled out, and none of their stuff looks optimized. And they're basically just competing and outselling you based off their brand name alone, that they've been around making, say, hatchets for 70 years. And so people know them. People inside like the woodworking or kind of like log cabin niche know them, they trust them, and they don't want to buy any sort of hatchet that's not made by them, even though it might be $20 more expensive and their listing isn't optimized. And so you know that there's value there. You know that people want their product, and they could sell even more product if someone just kind of merchandise their product in a better way and allowed the brand to put their best foot forward and really kind of showcase their product the best way possible on Amazon. So your job is to basically team up with someone who has done all the heavy lifting of building a brand over the decades, building kind of a niche audience, and building a following. And your job is just kind of do the last 5% of making sure they put their best foot forward on Amazon. Everything's optimized, everything looks pretty, and their PPC is running correctly. And that kind of marriage of two different minds can really, really help and really kind of take both your guys' business to the next level.
Okay, so with this new approach, how can sellers go about finding niche brands to bring to Amazon? And what should they be saying to them when they approach them?
So I'm really bad at describing this process. The way I do it is just by being interested in stuff. So it doesn't really kind of apply to everyone, but I'm always just Googling and searching and seeing random stuff. Our office we have right now has a ton of extra space in it. And so we've been skateboarding all over the office. And so then, of course, me and my business partner get onto Amazon and we go, okay, we know some skateboard brands. Let's see if they're being sold on Amazon. They're all being done terribly. Even we go to the e-commerce websites of some of these skateboard companies, and they're all still doing it terribly on their own websites. And so you know that there's just a huge market. And then you start looking at skateboard. There's 20 different companies that make trucks, which are like the axles. And there's 20 different companies that make the wheels. And then there's 20 different companies that make the bearings. And there's 50 different companies that make the decks, and 50 different companies that make grip tape. And right now I already have a catalog of 200 kind of specific niche companies where it's like, this company only makes skateboard wheels, like Spitfire, say, for example. They only make skateboard wheels. They kind of make bearings. They don't really make anything else. This is a totally unexposed market where you could really go in and kind of team up with a bunch of companies. And as you get the snowball rolling down the hill, as we say here in Minnesota, it starts gaining more and more momentum. And you go, okay, hey, Spitfire, I already sell brand X wheels, brand Y wheels, and brand Z wheels. Customers keep asking about your brand. You don't want me to only sell my competitors, not sell yours. And so you kind of convince them that, hey, everyone else doing it, why aren't you? And it just makes things easier as time goes on.
And I think a lot of sellers, especially private labelers who own their Amazon listings, will be concerned that this new approach is a bit risky because you don't own your products, you're essentially reselling. So could the situation arise further down the line where the manufacturer starts competing with you directly on Amazon?
So that's where you just have to have a really kind of open relationship and conversation going with your supplier. So if they say, hey, we want to start doing this themselves, then kind of you can maybe pivot it into a consulting job, or pivot it into a thing where, okay, I'll run your account for you, but I get a percentage of income. So then that way you don't even have to invest your own cash. You might be making less income, but you're doing the same work, not investing your cash. You can invest it somewhere else and still get a percentage of the income. And so as long as you're kind of open and honest with them, they're going to want to continue working with you. None of them feel screwed over once they find out that like you're making all your money on Amazon. They're like, okay, I'm interested. How do we sell more on Amazon? And something that I encourage people to do too, and something that I've found some good success in, is if you sit there and you start selling this stuff over and over again, and you've kind of figured out the niche, you go, okay, everyone is asking for longer hardware pieces because their truck's base is too thick compared to the deck, and there isn't enough room to screw the bolt on properly. Now, you're only going to find out about this very niche problem once you sell these products forever. And you're going to be able to go, okay, why aren't any of the brands I'm selling sell longer hardware pieces so this doesn't become a problem? I'm going to go private label my own. And so then that way you can kind of tie your brand in along with all the other brands you carry, so it looks that much more legitimate standing next to them. And two, you're finding kind of unique gaps in the market and problems to solve because you're selling this niche and becoming an expert on it the more you sell their products.
And I think another thing that sellers will wonder is, how do you grow a business like this? You know, is there a certain structure you need, and what sort of ongoing tasks do you need to make sure that you're doing?
So you're just going to want to run it in a kind of assembly line format. So most likely you're going to be the person, if you're running the business, for example, who's going to be probably doing the initial contacting, because you're going to be the one who understands the business the most and can explain kind of the value proposition the best. And so you have one person who's sitting there just contacting companies all day. Once you get done with all the skateboard companies, go to rollerblading or BMX bikes or whatever extreme sport you want to do next. Surf accessories, who cares? But from there, you contact all of those companies. Once they say, yeah, it's good, then they're going to send you kind of their whole catalog. And you're going to want to set up kind of like a spreadsheet or questionnaire saying, okay, I need all of the SKUs. I need all of the UPCs. I need all of the photos, if you can get them in one place, and all of the descriptions in one place. And I can handle the rest from there. From there, you have kind of, you pass it on to the next person who uploads all of those SKUs. And then you might have one person at the end who actually manages like the day-to-day. And so you have one person getting new leads, one person setting it up, and then one person managing. And it kind of just goes through the formation over and over again. And I've always said since the very beginning, it's a lot easier to sell 1,000 products once a day than one product 1,000 times a day. And so if you can just keep acquiring catalogs, the only problem you're going to have then is just running out of cash. And it's like, that's a good problem to have because you're growing beyond your means.
Okay, Will. So my final question for you is, what are your e-commerce heroes' top 3 tips for sellers who are thinking about using this approach?
First tip is don't be scared and get out there. It's these calling these companies, emailing these companies takes minutes. And the upside is you might make $20,000-$30,000 profit off them for the entire year. And the downside is they hang up on you. So it's really like kind of like a no risk, big reward. So just like keep putting yourself out there, keep going after it. Don't be scared, because that stops some people, but other people kind of embrace the cold calling aspect of it. Another thing is really kind of think about the brand and how you can benefit them. Don't come from another point of view of where you're saying, hey, I can get rich off your brand real quick, just give me your catalog, because that's not going to really entice them. Listen to what their concerns are about the Amazon marketplace and kind of selling online in general, and figure out how you can kind of like make sure you fix those concerns. So if they're saying, hey, we can sell on Amazon, but we really want to make sure that we have like special directions to people who sell on Amazon so they know exactly how it works and exactly like how our brand was formed. And it's like, I hear silly stuff like that sometimes. It's like, really? That's the big thing that's been holding you back? It's like, okay, done. Or you hear stuff where it's like, we really want to be on Amazon, but like, we just really don't want to be in Prime because then that really hurts our brick and mortar. So you can sell on Amazon, but you just can't do fulfillment by Amazon. And so if you kind of hear out their concerns, you can really kind of get to the bottom of why they aren't selling on Amazon and then kind of soothe their fears. And then that way kind of everyone wins. And you're an A+ Amazon consultant in their eyes that actually pays them and buys their products instead of having to pay the consultant. And the third and last tip I would give is basically figure out what the perfect niche is. Some of the things I think of are niches that tend to kind of attract an older audience because those usually do not have as higher competition online. So I think of like woodworking tools or stuff like yacht accessories. Those are the kind of things that maybe have not been exploited as much on Amazon, but at the same time, I'm here in the US. I got a strip mall every quarter mile, and I still have no idea where I would buy woodworking tools in person or I'd buy yacht accessories in person. I'm forced to buy these things online. And so go after these kind of super uncompetitive markets. Yeah, there might not be much of a market yet, but eventually everyone's going to buy everything online and you can kind of be the early mover while it's still a young market.
Well, I think there's some great tips there, Will, and it's certainly food for thought. Now, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today, but I'd like to say a big thank you to Will for joining us, a big thank you to you at home for watching, and we'll see you again soon for another episode of E-Commerce Heroes here at Web Retailer.